That's all
It's
right.
okay. It's Monday, August 6, 2012, and you're listening to iCannabis Radio. I'm with the Georgia and Warren Show with tonight's host, Georgia Edson, and our producer, Chris Rosales. Tonight we're going to talk with Mike Elliott from the Medical Marijuana Industry Group. And of course, since it's, what Monday is it?
It's Glass Monday.
What does that mean? Like, is it the first Monday, the second Monday? When do we do this?
The first Monday of every month.
The first Monday of every month, we'll have the boys from Mad Hatters in the studio talking about, what are we doing today? Is it Dabs Night?
It's all about oil rigs. The new way to medicate is concentrates, and
I'll be going through some different rigs. But first, the news.
The news.
wild night down in the Springs. We had not one, not two, but three medical marijuana center break-ins last night in the Springs.
What?
As reported by KKTV 11 in Colorado Springs. Started at 3 a.m. with White Mountain Medicine. Immediately thereafter, it was Cannabis Therapeutics and Michael Lee. And then immediately after that was Briargate Wellness Center.
Are they close to each other, those three centers?
Two of the three sounded like they were, meaning White Mountain and Briargate. It's just the Springs, so they're all kind of, they aren't very far apart in the grand scheme of things.
Sure.
What was interesting was the person that reported that CT was getting broken into unfortunately gave law enforcement incorrect address.
You mean their security company did?
Well, no, actually, it sounds like, I don't know who, the report was mixed, okay? It mentioned that the person who called in the break-in gave an incorrect address, so the officers went to the wrong place first. They did see somebody leaving there by the time they got there, and in fact, the people did not get into Briargate Wellness. The initial reports are that several items were taken, but no direct list, and at this time, there are no listed suspects. So that's, wow, crazy night in the Springs, and that's got to be coordinated to have.
So they started at 3 a.m. Was it concentric? Was it all at the same time? Is it suggested that one group of people went to three different places?
Again, mixed reports.
Gotcha.
It's different people, it sounds like.
Okay.
And it sounds like it happened bang, bang, bang.
Wow.
Within half an hour, all three places were tagged.
So can I make my comments?
What?
So
I don't know.
Talk about regulation and the benefits of regulation. When you are as camered up as these places are required to be, as centers and grows are required to be, of all the and on top of that, some municipalities have even more requirements regarding safes and locking things up and those kinds of things. It's really, 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 really difficult to actually get anything.
It
so
is.
break
I don't
into
know
a 7-Eleven, I guess.
I'm not quite sure what they got. It's going to be interesting to find out. Again, this all happened first thing this morning. There weren't. I was surprised it wasn't in the kind of the mainstream Colorado press. Did you hear anything about it, Mike? Hey, Chris, is Mike on? Sorry, throw Mike into the conversation. This is Mike Elliott from the Medical Marijuana Industry.
Hi, everyone. No, I didn't hear anything about it.
Yeah, I just caught it at 5 o'clock. It popped up on one of my search engines.
What I did just hear about recently, though, is the new UCLA study about crime usage. They were studying crime in California, and this one basically shows that medical marijuana businesses are not causing an increase in crime.
Right.
And, we had the RAND study saying the same thing 6 months ago, a year ago, and then they retracted it. But here's another study showing basically the same thing.
Okay. So
the places that were burglared in Denver a month or so ago, I think the most that they got was something from a tip jar. Remember?
Basically, I think there might have been a plant at one point. I know, back and forth, but it's interesting because it gets reported as a major crime incident, but I'm not sure, again, much gets taken other than people thinking they're going to get a lot of stuff.
Right.
On with the news. Tuesday's going to be nutty in Arizona. We're at 9 a.m. Pacific time. They're going to have a lottery for dispensary license. There are essentially 486 applicants for 126 licenses. And the Department of Health and Human Services is conducting this lottery, and they'll actually stream it live online.
No way.
Yep. So you can
I'm watching. I'm writing that
down. Go to the
down.
Arizona Department of Health, and they will be streaming it online. And what's so crazy, lots of people take a lot of grief for the legislation that passed here in Colorado, but at least it didn't do what Arizona's done, which is allow people to set up and then hold the lottery. Because seriously, that
knocked my headphones off.
There are people set up and they're hoping they get picked tomorrow. And in some of the articles, if you Google it, you'll find dozens of articles on this lottery. You'll see a number of quotes from a number of different current dispensary owners who are saying, we hope we get picked, or at least if we don't get picked, we'll sell our spot to somebody who does, because there you go, it's turnkey.
By setup, you mean they have started their store and their grow?
Yeah.
How can they do that exactly? Well, clearly the regulations
Well,
allow for that.
I won't get into legal advice and who
Sure.
did what. And, at some point, actually, we should note on your thing there because you had the pen. Let's try to touch base with Tom Dean, Arizona attorney, next week and ask him that very question. But that is going to be crazy. And so feel free to tune in tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific, but Department of Health, Human Services, Arizona. And a much discussed, probably over ridiculed news story today. I don't know. It's, I kind of go back and forth on this one, but the Medical Marijuana Enforcement Division in Colorado has more cars than workers, and that's the news story being broken by Brian Maas of CBS 4 News. Not exactly big fan of Brian's, going back to the Ken Garman days, but that's a whole other long story. But long and the short of it, Brian reported last night on the 10 o'clock news that there are 8 years leases on 24 SUV vehicles that, but currently Med only has 12 employees, at least according to Brian. Now, is Mike's
mic on?
Mic on, and that's what I was going to say, and it locked my brain up. Mike, I was under the impression that they'd cut back to 17 employees and that they'd in fact brought back a couple recently. Had you heard that there was as few as 12 employees at Med?
Yeah, I've heard numbers that low, unfortunately.
That low. Okay.
Well, what's interesting is if that division only has 12 employees, of those 12, really how many are people that go out in the field and need a car?
Not many, and they've schlepped those cars out to other divisions of the Department of Revenue. But the kind of bummer is it's about $30,000 a piece on the lease, and that's what there's a lot of criticism of this story. Not great expenditure of government money, but these are leases. So when the news reports that it's a $30,000 lease, and then people report back, how can you get that SUV for $30,000? It's probably checked out, yada, yada, yada. No, that was the cost of the lease because the vehicle goes back to the company after the period of time. And it sounds like it's $30,000 a year. Now, what was weird was the news report talked about $750,000
for 24 cars.
That I couldn't make the math work.
So here's what I have to say. We're talking about it because it's the Medical Marijuana Enforcement Division. This speaks to state government issues. This isn't specific to the Department of Revenue or Med. This is unfortunately what happens when the government needs to cut costs, and they do that by cutting people and reassigning people, and then there's all those ancillary costs based on full FTE, and when they don't have full FTE, they don't cut these other things.
And for regular people who don't speak government, what the hell's an FTE?
It's a full-time employee.
Okay, so they measure things by the number of full-time employees and what that costs. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I guess I'm saying that the division was initially allocated X number of full-time employees, and with that, they needed X number of ancillary things like cars, and then 6 months ago, or 3 months ago, they had to cut their full-time employees significantly. But clearly, they didn't cut other pieces of their budget as well that were based on being fully staffed.
Well, because you can't do it. There's some stuff like a lease where how do you do that without violating the terms and conditions of the lease
exactly.
and paying a massive penalty? My guess is they have more than a few extra offices over in the Med Division.
Right. They probably have empty
given that
space.
They went from 37 employees to somewhere around 12. But jeez.
Well, and having been in that office just this morning, I stood at the front desk for 15 minutes without any staff behind the front desk.
Really?
Yeah, and finally...
it's not like the good old days.
Right. And finally another office person whose responsibility was not taking care of the front desk, stumbled upon me and saw that I looked like I needed some help.
Okay. Well, weird times at Med, and they've got a bunch of cars, and while there are all sorts of people talking about wanting to buy those cars, you can't do that because they're leases. But you could sure call Med and assume they're leases. But anyway.
Although we don't know that because it's really not Med's leases, it's
DORs.
State of Colorado's
Yep.
leases.
I was kind of half joking, but I'm getting
You
too
were half
much
joking.
Facebook chatter. So before we get into paying the real commercials and too much work, and talking to other folks, because Mike's here, I want to talk about what are you doing Saturday?
Saturday is the golf tournament sponsored by the clinic to raise money for the Multiple Sclerosis Foundation. And iCannabis Radio is going to be there with the booth, and we might possibly do a live broadcast.
We're going to try to, but we normally F those up, so we'll see.
Actually, we're good at them. It's when we come back and put things back in the studio that sometimes we have.
And how do we go from like 15 posters for this thing to none? But it starts early in the morning, and frankly, I heard from the boys at the clinic, they sent a press release yesterday saying it is full.
Yay!
There are no more slots.
That's fantastic.
So you can come check things out for fun, to just see what's going on. But otherwise, that charity event is full. And that's a great job by those guys, because that means a lot of slots were sold.
Please check them out at thecliniccolorado.com, thecliniccolorado.com. You can get information not only about the clinic dispensaries, but specifically about the golf tournament as well. They're having a party afterwards.
And then a party after the party.
And then a party after the party. That's an exhausting day.
Only those guys.
Right.
But, okay, did we mention what it's for to the charity?
I did.
Okay, just checking.
Absolutely.
Can never mention it enough.
Yes, they do. They raise a significant amount of money for MS, and it's such a fitting cause for the medical marijuana industry to support, and the clinic guys do a great job. Now that we are no longer across the hall from them, they don't stop by as often. They almost don't love us anymore.
Oh, don't tell Drew that. You'll never hear the end of that.
That's true.
But,
Actually,
and
Drew
you just
should
made Max cry.
No.
But well, when are we gonna? We got another day when we're broadcasting live coming up. So mark your calendars if you want to come out September 8th to the Old San Rafael Neighborhood Block Party. We are sponsored by the Wynkoop Brewery and Edson Maton and Matt's, and don't know who else right now. We're hoping
Noto
to
Urban
find
Garden
out.
Supply.
Noto Urban Garden Supply is sponsoring it so far, and Cervantes, because they signed on as a recent sponsor. So
this is a great black party. I mean, I don't know if your neighborhoods have black parties, but our neighborhood has not done it in the past. And so doing the first one, we decided that we were going to follow the philosophy of go big or go home. And since it's going to be at our home, we could do both.
Yep.
All day from 12 to 8, there will be food trucks and bands and beer and kids events, and it is going to be a fantastic time. The epicenter of the block party is Emerson and 24th.
The stage will be just north of Emerson and 24th. You can't miss it because we're shutting down 6 blocks. Again, the Wynkoop Brewery will be there with a van and beer experts explaining the beer that they will be serving. And their head PR guy, Marty Jones, will be both explaining beer and playing as Marty Jones and the Great Unknowns, a classic old school Denver band.
It should be really fun. There's a lot of good events, and we're going to start putting these up on iCannabisRadio.com. I just need to be reminded tomorrow to do that, and it will be up. Yeah.
So can we figure out ads and make them go?
Absolutely. We want to thank our friends, since we just talked about them, at Noto Urban Garden Supply. Noto Urban Garden Supply is your urban source for all of your gardening needs, whether you are a hobby cultivationist or a commercial gardener. Visit Noto Urban Garden Supply, 4.5 blocks northeast of Coors Field, 1330 27th Street, between Larimer and Walnut on 27th. Remember, Levi does a monthly Ask Levi Grow spot here on iCannabis Radio on the 4th Monday of the month. No, but Levi can't keep any of it straight. That's why I keep doing the Ask Levi spots. But go visit. One of the great things about Noto Urban Garden Supply is they give away free compost tea to all of their customers. It would be preferred that you bring your own compost tea. What is that, you say? Compost tea is a liquid made of all the nutrients that your plants could possibly need, especially if you've got some plants that are struggling or that are root bound and those kinds of things. Compost tea can really help support the roots and give the nutrients that your plants are thriving for, especially if you've had some soil that is older soil and has lost a significant amount of its original nutrients. So feel free to stop by, again, 1330 27th Street, Noto Urban Garden Supply. That's NODO urbangardensupply.com. You're listening to iCannabis Radio. I'm Georgia, and I'm with Warren, and we'll be right back.
With Mike.
The law offices of Edson, Mayton, and Matz provide criminal defense, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running medical marijuana centers, optional premises cultivation operations, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout Colorado. With offices in Denver and Aspen, we can offer assistance throughout the entire state of Colorado. Give us a call at 303-831-8188. That's 303-831-8188. Or visit us online at warrenedson.com.
Are you a medical marijuana patient or interested in finding out how to become one? Contact Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. Conveniently located on Hamden and Tamarack in the Whole Foods parking lot behind Proof of the Pudding. Mile High Wellness offers a wide variety of edibles, hashes, and some of Colorado's top strains. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. 3525 South Tamarack, Suite 110, on the corner of Hamden and Tamarack. 720-382-8516. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern.
I'm Gary Johnson, and you're listening to iCannabis Radio, and I want to say, talk it up, Colorado.
Ow. We got to work on
Welcome
that.
back. Welcome back.
We have the same problem with Jane's addiction.
Thank you so much. You're listening to Warren and Georgia on iCannabis Radio. It's Monday nights, the first Monday of the month. And of course, in a little bit, we're going to be talking to our friends at Mad Hatter Smoke Shop about some fantastic oil rigs. But first, we want to talk to our friend Mike Elliott from the Medical Marijuana Industry Group. Mike, welcome to the show.
Hi, Warren. Hi, Georgia. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about MMIG, what it is, what it does, who it's for?
Sure, happy to. So the Medical Marijuana Industry Group, we are a trade association of medical marijuana businesses here in Colorado. Basically, we're a group, all the members of our group are business owners, and decided that if we work together, we could have more resources and come up with better strategies to fight all of the battles that our industry is currently facing. So as it stands, we have local lobbyists, David Cole and Associates, that primarily works in Denver. We have two state lobbyists, Cara Miller and Jerry Braden. We have federal lobbyist, Ted Trimpa, who's working, he's got offices here in Colorado and in D.C., and then we have Mark Eddy as our strategic communications consultant. He worked for the Denver Post for about 16 years, so he does all of our communications consulting. And then I'm the executive director. I coordinate all of this and to fight all these various battles that we are engaged in and keep quite busy doing so.
Absolutely.
Well, and it's not just kind of lobbying and generally what people think of fighting. Because, you were very proactive in getting involved in the 5 nanogram battle. And even though you
That's
guys
right.
often somehow get tainted as promoting 5 nanograms, and I'm still not sure how that argument comes about, you are very much involved in not having that happen and
Sure.
getting them information. Can you tell us more about that? Because that's a battle that is about to hit Washington State through an awkward vote and
Sure.
is coming to other states.
And, I'd be happy to sit down for a longer conversation about it, because we could easily eat up 12 minutes
geez,
talking about
yeah.
it and all the history of it.
So I didn't mean to
but no,
drag you off topic.
No,
It just
to-
is something we talk about all the time.
Yeah. Well, to do a quick summary of it, our position is that we are against a 5 nanogram per se standard because all the science, and I mean all the science, shows that you can have 5 nanograms in your blood and not be impaired. And we do not want to end up convicting people who are unimpaired of an impaired driving infraction. Mm-hmm. So we, in our, because we've been lobbying heavily at the state legislature and with the DUI task force and the drug policy task force, which are these state agencies that had, in the past they were originally pushing for 5 nanograms, and we ended up somewhat derailing their efforts in this year, basically, in 2012. But so we've been doing that lobbying, and we've come up with some proposals to help find some sort of a common ground of where we know that if people are getting convicted that they are impaired, but we can't get over the fact that it's a blood test, and if you're going to get pulled over for drunk driving, you're going to have the option of a breathalyzer, and if we get forced into blood tests, well, there is a civil liberties issue there that's at stake. So
I'm sorry, they're celebrating a foosball victory next door.
Foosball.
And yeah, the Mad Hatter guys are throwing down. But that's why I started laughing, because,
we don't think 5 nanograms is funny at all.
You even went so far as to be on one of these freaking committees, though, too,
yeah.
Mike, aren't you?
Yeah, Sheriff Grayson Robinson is part of the Drug Policy Task Force. He invited me to be on the marijuana DUID work group, which after we defeated this issue in 2011, there were a lot of very upset people about it, law enforcement and DAs, and they created this work group to study the issue. And they invited me to be a voting member of it. There were 8 people, and I can tell you from the start there were 2 law enforcement, 1 DA, and then the victim advocate, who is a drug rehab or a drug education specialist. Those were 4 of the votes, and they were all. It appeared to me that they had all decided beforehand. Exactly. And then there was myself, Sean McAllister, and a couple state employees. And when it came down to a vote, 4 people said yes to 5 nanograms, 4 people said no. We got the 2 state employees to vote against it, which was amazing. I don't know this for sure, but I'd have to think that they were worried about their jobs being on the line for this, because there was so much pressure from law enforcement and everything about it. So, That's kind of where it got derailed. It didn't. So the CCJJ didn't endorse it, and then the Drug Policy Task Force didn't endorse it this last year, and a lot of the members within those pushed for it. But.
Well, and hopefully other states will learn from that.
Well, and we dodged a bullet for 1 legislative session, and we have
2 now.
Yeah, 2 now. Thank you. I just meant this last legislative session, and there's no doubt that it's gonna come up again, and so we have to be prepared for yet again number 3.
Yeah.
Number 3.
Shall we jump into advertising then?
Yeah, I mean,
Please.
one of the probably the main reason why we wanted you to come in was to talk about MMIG's position on some specific Denver ordinance that would ban outdoor advertising for medical marijuana companies, and MMIG helped kind of frame this. The way that it's currently looking, and so if you could tell us a little bit about.
Well, and let him fill us in on the history, so that we don't twist it or whatever.
Right. So don't taint it.
So far, everything seemed very fair, Georgia. Thank you.
I'm trying.
Well, we're going to get into a healthy debate, I think, once we get past this, which is fine with me. But yeah, I mean, to give you the history, Councilwoman Debbie Ortega in the Denver City Council, last January or so, she started approaching industry representatives about her proposal, which would ban medical marijuana outdoor medical marijuana advertising within 1,000 feet of schools, daycares, and parks. And initially, I can tell you that we didn't have strong feelings about it. When it comes to banning that sort of advertising, it's hard for us to get up and say that we really need to have that sort of advertising with, that close to parks, schools, and daycares. And we didn't want to defend sign flippers because, we realized that sign flippers end up being, a rallying cry for our opposition. Looking at it, there wasn't anything really good about it. At the same time, but we didn't really want to fight it. And, you can see all the major players at the table ended up basically endorsing Ortega's proposal. And we didn't take a position on it. We were kind of back and forth. But after thinking about it for about a month or 2, we actually started seeing very, very big problems with it. And I'll go through what those problems are kind of quickly. First, we saw it as being extremely unfair to the medical marijuana businesses. And the piece of that would be, if you look at the map, because Denver created a map about all the areas that are within 1,000 feet of schools, daycares, and parks. And you'll see that about 80% of the medical marijuana businesses are within 1,000 feet of schools, daycares, and parks. And so we think that's unfair to the businesses because 80% of them would not be able to do the sign flipping while 20% of them would, and it creates this inequity. But it's not just the businesses that's unfair to, it's also unfair for the neighborhoods because, basically what we would see is that all these advertisements would come crashing down on certain neighborhoods within the city. And,
it's the doomsday map right there.
No, it's
Warren's got it.
This is just the first one.
Oh.
But for our out-of-state listeners, you just slide over, Mike. I can stand right here in the corner.
Am I going to be able to fit in this anymore?
Right?
No, but yeah.
This is a big map.
Out-of-state listeners can kind of sort of see what we're talking about.
Well, this is great. So, to go through here specifically, if you want to look at South Colorado Boulevard, this is an example where in South Colorado Boulevard, you're going to have about 7 centers there, and only one of them would be able to do the sign flipping, giving them a tremendous advertising advantage over everybody else there. It's basically the same problem on Federal and the same problem downtown. Like on Federal, South Federal and downtown, you've got about 20 businesses there, and about 4 or 5 of them would be allowed to have the sign flippers, the advertisements right across the street, doing the directional signage, and while the others would be locked out of it. So, and then, we got the problems with the neighborhoods too, and you can't really see it here with the colors, but, there's certain districts in the city that all the medical marijuana advertising would go into those districts. And, we don't want to create a situation where, we're upsetting more neighborhoods because all the sign flippers are there, all the advertisements are there. So, a couple other problems that we saw with it is that, essentially, we're not going to get rid of the sign flippers. It might be making the problem even worse. And then here it is. Here is the biggest problem that we saw with Ortega's proposal. And, since January, when the U.S. Attorney started sending these letters to businesses within 1,000 feet of schools telling them to shut down, we've had this coalition of people that have been meeting, pretty much on a weekly basis talking about, how do we keep the U.S. Attorney from expanding their effort and shutting down businesses here in the state of Colorado. And, what Ortega's original proposal was going to do was say that, we're going to ban medical marijuana advertising within 1,000 feet of not just schools, but also daycares and parks now. Why? Because we need to protect kids. And that is very, very difficult for us to be okay with, because it is Ortega was making the exact same argument that the U.S. Attorney was making. And, I guess is our plan to keep the U.S. Attorney from expanding their effort. We do not want to codify into local law that, that kids are in danger of these advertisements 1,000 feet from daycares and parks. But we don't want to have the conversation at City Council to be about protecting kids. And so what we did is we basically said we don't want to fight this battle. We can't be for or against Ortega's proposal, so let's change it. Let's create our own scenario here where we can actually support something. And so we actually started talking to council members about just taking it from 80% not allowed to do it to 100% not allowed to do it, and it's making it an outdoor advertising ban citywide. And I'll tell you, there's a few big benefits to this. First of all, it's more fair for the businesses because it's the same rule for everybody. It's more fair for the neighborhoods because certain neighborhoods then aren't going to get stuck with all of those advertisements. And then, a great thing about it is this ordinance is no longer about protecting kids. This ordinance is actually about whether it's appropriate for the businesses to be targeting their advertisements at the general population, as opposed to the 2% of medical marijuana patients that are registered here in the state of Colorado. Georgia, sorry. I can see you getting red, and you are ready to go. Thank you for being patient with me, by the way.
So when they come to ban westward and ads in westward, how do you guys respond to that? Because, again, that's aimed at more than the 2%, 3% in Colorado.
Sure.
And is, 8 pages of Westward's publication, which is primarily aimed at, 18 to 30-year-olds?
Actually, and probably even younger than that, because that's how kids find out where they get their concert information.
Right. Well, it's a good point. Basically, it is the slippery slope argument that they're going to start here and then they're going to expand their effort. And I guess my counter to that would be the slippery slope argument is actually worse under allowing Ortega's proposal. And here's why. Because it is adopting this framework that we need to protect kids, which, as we know.
As opposed to protecting everybody.
That's
because your proposal is that we protect everybody.
Your proposal says to me, as Jane
it's
listener,
bad for everybody,
that marijuana
is
is bad for everybody, not just children. And therefore, you kept talking about sign flippers. It's not just about sign flippers. I think you say that because we all think sign flippers are cheesy, whether they're flipping for gold or flipping for marijuana, whatever we think that they're cheesy.
Or Jesus.
Or Jesus. But the fact of the matter is, you're talking about all outdoor advertising. So the bus stop ads, the kiosk ads, the blimp over the 420 event. You're talking about the trucks that drive by that have billboard advertising on them. You're talking about regular billboards. You're talking about everything because it's dangerous. That's what I hear.
No, it's a good point, and Georgia, Warren, I have a tremendous amount of respect for both of you guys, and I know that we're just going to disagree on this.
We are going to disagree on this.
But to make my point here, Ortega, when it comes to protecting kids, they can justify anything when it comes to protecting kids, because it's not, kids are not just within 1,000 feet of school, days, cares, and parks. They can expand that and go after westward under Ortega's proposal. And by the way, we found out very quickly that Ortega's proposal was going to pass with flying colors. And so there was no defense of it. But
now, Chris Herndon, your proposal, it hasn't been released yet, so we haven't gotten to read it yet, have we?
No, that's not correct. It just passed through committee this last Wednesday.
Okay.
It is headed for the first vote before the full city council this next Monday, the 13th, and then both ordinances will be up for a final vote on August 20th.
Does it define parks in the same way Ortega's does, meaning fairly narrowly?
It doesn't define parks at all. In fact, parks isn't even part of it anymore because it's a citywide.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. So say that again about it doesn't include parks any longer?
Well, it doesn't need to because it's just 100% banned.
Of course.
It's just something we talked about on the show was that one of the interesting things about Ortega's proposal was it narrowly defined parks, which would have been helpful. It sends a message. It's not really helpful because the feds don't really give a shit.
Right.
But at least sends a message as to, how the city views parks.
One of my struggles, I have to say, is that I read in Facebook of all places, someone's defense of this was, if your product's not good enough, where you have to use that kind of advertisement, then you probably shouldn't be in this business anyway, or some variation of that. And if that's the argument, then your argument of this whole fairness issue flies in the face of that.
I've never made that argument before.
I know you haven't. I know you haven't. I know you haven't. But this was someone whose center is a member of MMIG, and I struggle because in my opinion, the fairness issue is a cost issue. The Westward's extremely expensive.
Sure.
It's extremely expensive. And there's a lot of centers, and they use a lot of really creative ways to advertise their really important product. And if we limit that, certainly I think we need to be really thoughtful in this industry about how we advertise. But by no means do I think our advertisement is dangerous to people. Nor is it dangerous to kids, nor should our advertisement be anything other than a great conversation starter for parents to have with their kids. If someone goes through the Westward and starts looking at these ads, it would be great if they asked their mom and dad what a $25 eighth means.
I guess to counter this point that I know you guys are kind of implying that under the citywide ban that's the result is, we're admitting that advertisements are dangerous. And I can tell you, if you look at the whereas clauses for this proposal, there's nothing in there about it being dangerous.
Well,
it's a question
of the message you're sending is that we need to ban it for 100% of the city, as opposed to just where children are.
Sure, but I can tell you that argument, I have not heard that argument outside of our conversations here. And it's because this is a question of properly targeting the patients. And when you look at the fact that only 2% of the people are allowed to have a card, the federal status issue, and everything else, the scope here
but that
becomes
argument
very
gets
narrow.
back to Westward then, because that's that nails Westward, and then we're looking at ads in Westward that gets to kids, and quite frankly, some of MIG's members are the ones with the bikini-clad women in the Westward magazine, and so I'm looking at you guys trying to ban
that we are,
bus
Warren,
stops.
But okay.
Well, okay, let me. They'll kill me, but MMJ America. Okay.
Okay, I've
Tits
never
and
seen
ass.
one like that. But okay.
There's a bikini woman almost in every one of their ads, and that's in Westward. And so how, because we're talking about bus stops that have prices on it versus something that sends probably a worse message.
Here's the thing about Westward, though. An adult can look at it. If they don't want to look at it, they can shut it. The thing about all of the outdoor advertising that are on the streets is that they slap people in the face left and right.
I disagree. Just like any other advertising.
I'll agree with them on that one.
When you're driving down a street and you're going 30 miles an hour, the time that you're actually looking at that bus stop is probably 10 seconds. And there's nothing that forces you to look at that bus stop or to look at that billboard. There really
correct,
isn't.
But we've lucked out because none of the MMCs have done the California billboards. And just there's been examples in LA of tits and ass billboards. relating to MMC, and luckily we haven't had any of our MMCs.
But you know
go
what?
that
What's
direction,
interesting is
so we haven't seen something that really has set Soccer Mom off, because the billboards have been relatively tasteful.
Fair enough. My other argument is, you keep referring to the 2% of the population that are patients. We don't know where patients are or live, or people who need to know about medical marijuana. We're making some pretty big assumptions that the advertising is just for people who already have cards. You know what? The advertising is for people who may be possibly interested in learning about medical marijuana to begin with, and
well, it's specific to the businesses, though. Advertising. This doesn't stop other sorts of advertising about medical marijuana, and there's a charity exception as well within this language. And I know we're running out of time, so let me make one final point here. And it's really a political argument. One of the best things about this is that, politically speaking, this is a very smart long-term strategy for us. And I'll tell you here, I've been involved in several of the campaigns, these local ban campaigns. I ran the campaign in El Paso County, which is Colorado Springs, where we successfully defeated a ban there. I was heavily involved in Fort Collins and Steamboat Springs and other places. And it's these advertisements, especially in Fort Collins, that were the rallying cry of our opposition. And it is the same way here in Denver. We don't have the same worry here in Denver yet, as of now, about the businesses being banned, but it is a rallying cry for the neighborhood groups. It mobilizes that opposition. And I just had a former representative tell me, it was just this last weekend at a fundraiser that I was at, that if advertisements stay the same way that they are, I am not going to be able to support any sort of marijuana reform, because it's embarrassing for them. It's embarrassing for our supporters, it's embarrassing for the people in the middle, and it mobilizes our opposition. And what we're doing here is we're taking an out-of-sight, out-of-mind sort of perspective, where businesses can still advertise. It's just not going to be so much slapping people in the face anymore.
Well, I respectfully disagree with your position, and I think that to me is dangerous to our industry. It's dangerous to patients. It's dangerous to set the precedent that we're saying that your organization, members unknown to me, your organization is willing to stand up and say, you know what, we think that we shouldn't be able to advertise like this. We are going to cut off our right arm and our left arm, despite the fact that you were just asking us to cut off our right arm. And we're going to take one for the team because somehow this is wrong and bad. And I just think it's not. I think that that advertising is important, and that
Sure.
healthy competition is important.
Absolutely.
And that this cuts that down. I wish, as I know you do, that we would have regulated ourselves better in the way that people advertise. But you know what? Something's going to offend everybody. There's always going to be someone who is going to say, that Kentucky Fried Chicken ad really pisses me off or really offends me in some fashion. And we can't please all the people.
Chicken isn't federally illegal, though.
You keep using the federally illegal argument.
I'm getting actually lots of listeners' comments, lots.
Okay.
One of them is that they're claiming that this will ban a lot of merchandising and turning T-shirts and hats and anything worn in public. What's your response to that, Mike?
Well, we're dealing, as far as that sort of advertising, it's kind of in the vague, ambiguous area, because really, the target of this is advertisements to the general population. Charitable advertisements are going to be exempt, and advertisements that are targeted at individuals probably do not apply. Although we are dealing with something that, really the target of this is the sign flippers, the billboards, the window signage. That's the main issue.
But I guess not the target, but could it be applied to somebody wearing a MMD of Colorado shirt or, marijuana?
Yeah.
Really, the idea here is that the business is doing it, the business is doing it for advertising purposes, it would probably fall within the scope of the advertising ad.
So if we gave people 100 T-shirts to wear to an event, that would be banned.
I got to tell you, that would have been banned under Ortega's proposal as well. It would have been much more confusing, though, because then it's only banned if you're within 1,000 feet of schools, daycares, and parks. And so, I understand that's a very ambiguous issue. It's very difficult to deal with. It's not really what the focus of the ad ban was about.
Now, have there been any comments specifically from Councilperson Herndon, talking about specifically banning people wearing T-shirts regarding medical marijuana in public?
I don't recall him saying anything along those lines. And I can tell you, too, I know, Georgia, that I mean, you're making about MMIG and taking a position. I can tell you that we're not the only trade association that has endorsed Herndon's proposal. And by the way, it's not just Herndon anymore. Ortega has actually signed on to Herndon's proposal. And last I heard, Ortega is planning on taking her 1,000-foot initiative off the agenda. She doesn't want it to be voted on anymore because she's on board with this. But, I've talked to a lot of the national groups, the UFCW, many other players here who see this as being a very smart strategy. And I know you were giving the analogy of we're cutting off the right arm because we lost the left. And I would say, 80% of the businesses were not going to be able to do this anyway. We've made it 100%, and a fairer rule.
You're making an assumption that 80% of businesses had billboards or sign spinners. You're making that assumption, or that their billboards and sign spinners were within 100 or 1,000 feet.
I guess what I'm saying is 20% would have been able to do sign flipping and would have given them a tremendous advertising advantage over the other.
Okay,
so now you're saying.
So Ortega's on this position. So before you guys got involved and pushed this with Herndon, Ortega was okay with 1,000 foot from schools and parks, but after this happened, now she's abandoning hers, and we're just going with them.
That's my understanding.
Okay. And I've got listeners claiming that you were, in fact, at a meeting where Herndon claimed that it was intent to stop T-shirts. Is that? I don't know. I'm responding to internet gossip, so I'm just saying that.
It's been brought up before, but I haven't seen it being the focus of the bill or something that people have spent a lot of time being concerned about.
And I guess my concern is if it could be applied to that, we're opening up a pretty big door to people getting arrested downtown on the 16th Street Mall for wearing a T-shirt.
I don't think so, and the reason is that the enforcement mechanism of this is tied to a business license. So if a business is engaged in this sort of advertising, it could affect their licensing. That there's a fine line between advertising a product and, on the other hand, political speech. And that is a line that we've been discussing thoroughly. This is meant for the advertising of a product, not at all for political speech.
So if it is proven that this person is one of their patients and got the T-shirt through buying crap at their store, that looks like advertising then, and could apply to that patient wearing a shirt wherever the heck it is.
Warren, you're really hitting on I think what is one of the most difficult parts of, it was Ortega's part of her proposal and part of Herndon's proposal now. And we need to get more clarification about it because I do not believe the intent was the intent is definitely not to interfere with someone's political ability to speech, but rather the business's ability to advertise a product.
But those could be one and the same. Warren's example.
But it also sounds like it was discussed in meetings, though. So,
right.
I worry about this intent thing because it's been discussed with meetings. Why couldn't, Councilperson Herndon say, well, we discussed it, so it was my intent?
Yeah, it's those kinds of things that have me so worried that we're talking about a vote on the 20th.
I will get the glass guys ready, or else we are never going to.
I know they're going to kill us. And let me just say, Mike, that you and I had a very heated debate on the phone the other day, and I appreciate being able to do that with you because we don't make it personal and those kinds of things. I will say, because it's my show and I get to, that I strongly disagree with this, and I disagree with Mick's position, and have been a supporter of MMIG for a long period of time, and this is a situation in which I think that we're doing a disservice to the industry in Denver, and I hope that people speak out about their feelings about this. I hope the industry owners really think this through. I think you do a great job of describing, how MMIG came to the place that they did, and where I will say that I agree with you is I think it's ridiculous, absolutely positively ridiculous to say that these things are dangerous to children, to say that MMCs are dangerous to children. You've used the example before that MMJ America had a store within spitting distance of my son's elementary school. My son's elementary school is one of the 4 top elementary schools in the state of Colorado. It's an A+ rated school. MMJ America did nothing to harm that school in any way, shape, or form. And so I really struggle with this whole issue with children. So I get that. I'm with you on that.
We had the new CDC data from the Center for Disease Control showing that from 2009 to 2011, teenage teenage marijuana use in the state of Colorado went down by almost 3%. I bring it up here because everywhere I go, everyone I talk to, I bring it up now because it is the main argument that's been used against us is that these medical marijuana businesses are increasing teen usage. And, one of the ironic things, the Adams County Youth Initiative, Adams County, it's the north county from Denver, they have their teen marijuana usage going way up right now. It's almost 6 percentage points higher than the rest of the state. And I kept hearing these arguments that, look at how bad it is in Adams County. It must be this bad across the state. And we just got the new data, the statewide data showing that Adams County is 6 percentage points higher than the rest of the state. And it turns out Adams County has never allowed the medical marijuana businesses there. And, it makes us wonder now, are these regulations, are they working?
Yes.
And that's a sign.
Yes.
That's a sign to me that they're
That's
working.
Right. I agree.
And it can be the black market, or it can be these regulated, safe, secure, taxed businesses. And so I think that it just gives us more ammunition to. Well, this is something we could end on an agreement that right now I think what we're doing is actually keeping teen usage down, which is it's nice to be on the offense on this issue because we've been on the defense on this issue for. Well, forever.
Well, and I agree with that. I think that, we can all be proponents of medical marijuana and of legalization in general. And I don't think there are any of us that outside of some very specific kids with some specific diagnoses, we can all agree that we want to keep marijuana out of the hands of kids until they're old enough to make some good choices on their own. And that's older than 18, in my mind. Mike Elliott, Executive Director of the Medical Marijuana Industry Group. Thank you so much. As always, it's a pleasure.
Georgia, Warren, thank you for having me. Let's do the DUID talk soon. That'll be a very interesting one as well.
I will let you two do that for sure. You've been listening to iCannabis Radio with Georgia and Warren. We want to thank our friends up at Medical Marijuana of the Rockies in Frisco, Colorado. mmrockies.com is their website where you can check out their ever-changing clone mature plant selection, as well as their strains of the day. They are located, like I said, in Frisco, Colorado, off of exit 203 off of I-70. Going to the mountains is great, but going to the mountains and checking out mmrockies.com makes your trip worthwhile. Some of the best meds in all of Summit County. Please tell our friends Jerry and Aaron that you heard about them on iCannabis Radio. Again, mmrockies.com, Medical Marijuana of the Rockies, your mountain source for meds. We'll be right back.
Are you a runner? Are you a runner who supports marijuana legalization? Run on Grass is a group of athletes actively seeking to change our marijuana laws. We speak the truth about cannabis, bringing the message through our feet to new ears. Check out runongrass.com to find out more about us, our events, and how to join up or how to sponsor a runner. If you're in the Denver area, please join us for runs or start a group in your area. Running not your thing? Any sport can do it on grass. Runongrass.com.
The law offices of Edson, Mayton, and Matz provide criminal defense, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running medical marijuana centers, optional premises cultivation operations, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout Colorado. With offices in Denver and Aspen, we can offer assistance throughout the entire state of Colorado. Give us a call at 303-831-8188. That's 303-831-8188. Or visit us online at warrenedson.com.
Let's face it, rules and regulations are complicated, especially in the field of medical marijuana. Let Medical Marijuana 101 help you get through the compliance process. We can also explain to you your employment requirements, your employees, and your business. But our work doesn't stop there. Our experience in cultivation ranges from the design of grow rooms to the diagnosis and resolution of grow problems. Visit us at www.medicalmarijuana101.com or call 303-388-7706. That's 303-388-7706.
Then Bruce, well, hi, welcome back. You're listening to iCannabis Radio. We were just talking to Mike Elliott, the Executive Director of the Medical Marijuana Industry Group, and the guys from Mad Hatter Smoke Shop are going to come in and we're going to see some of their cool oil rigs. But I'm going to take this opportunity as they're doing this to talk a little bit about why I'm so adamant about my feelings regarding the advertising ban. First of all, it's an advertising ban. I mean that alone should just send off bells and whistles. It's acting as though because a small percentage of the population smokes medical marijuana, uses medical marijuana, that businesses shouldn't be able to advertise their product. And you look at Cialis and all of those prescription medications that are all over the place all the time, advertised in your magazines, on your television, on your radio. And I don't know about you, but I don't take Viagra, so I that advertising is not geared towards me. And so if that's right, and so if that's the argument, it's a bad one. Do I think that there's some poor advertising out there? Yes, I think there's poor advertising out there in a whole variety of businesses, and medical marijuana will get to the place where their advertising is better, but it's never going to satisfy everyone. In the same way that I look at all kinds of ads on TV and find myself frustrated going through the magazines, and I'm like, oh, that's nasty. That's kind of what happens with advertising. Anyhow, now that I've gone off that diatribe, I think it's really important that business owners in Denver know what's going on, pay attention. The city council meets on the 13th and the 20th, and the vote will be on the 20th. If you want your voice heard, you need to do something about that. You need to contact your city council person. All right, having said all that, now I can hang out with my friends. We want to welcome Paul and Janonymous from Mad Hatter Smoke Shop.
How's it going?
Located
6091 West Colfax Avenue in Lakewood and 2615 Walnut Street in Denver, right next door to MMD of Colorado.
Sweet. That's awesome. So Paul and I, John, talked a little bit when you weren't here about
you.
About you. We talked a lot about you. But we talked about how nice it would be to do a show on oil rigs, because what percentage of what you sell are rigs nowadays?
More than 2%.
Most.
Yeah. Concentrates are probably one of the most popular ways to medicate these days.
Oh, yeah.
And because of that, as would have it, people got smart and developed the technology to be able to smoke concentrates in a really efficient way, hence these beautiful oil rig pieces. Am I going to be allowed to touch anything tonight, or are these all out of my... some of them are out of my range, right? Like, I can't touch...
No, you can touch
we'll see. We'll see.
So what makes a rig different than a regular water pipe? Water thingy.
The fact that you vaporize your concentrates out of it. Basically, it's instead of a bowl, majority of these nowadays carry a dome, which some of them come with a nail, some of them you have to add a nail to it.
What's a nail?
Brought a few of them over here. That's probably where we should start, huh?
I'll show them over
Nails
here.
and stuff.
Yep. For those who are not familiar with the nail, this one is a quartz nail. This one's in a 14 mil size, so you have a standard cup size. Most of the...
Is it cup?
ICUP.
Anyways, back to talking
He is
about
not
this.
amused.
I'm going to drink beer. Amusement will come later. Anyways.
When he pees.
Awesome. All right. So.
Back on track.
No, we're going to talk about peeing.
Okay, cool.
No, we're not.
Standing up or sitting down? Twice?
Twice. I don't know. I'm not gonna follow.
I think you said 2%. 2%.
2%?
2% sit down.
Oh yeah.
2% of men sit down when they pee.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. That's because the other 20% were lying.
Anyhow, that's a nail.
Ball pissers. Anyways, yeah, this is a quartz nail. This right here is made of a quartz glass as opposed to a borosilicate and or a soft glass. It can be heated and cooled at a high rate. So if I was to take and make this nail, red hot and drop it into a cup of water, it won't break.
Wow.
As opposed to a glass, like a Pyrex glass nail, a borosilicate nail, you can't do that without it breaking just from stress on the glass.
And that's important because the way that you vaporize is you use
The torch.
a torch.
Yeah, the thing is you're taking a product that liquefies anything much above room temperature. So you're going to want to get that cup up into the multi-thousands of degrees, because as soon as you apply that liquid to it, you're cooling it just from the convection of the hot surface and the cold surface touching each other. They're trying to reach equilibrium, and it's off-gassing as a vapored smoke. And that's exactly what
Didn't
you're
know you were
looking
getting a science
for.
lesson, did you?
I love this is one of the things that is so great about John and
He
not
knows
great about
everything.
you and me.
We
Anyway.
dick off. He has the knowledge.
Yeah. But that's the cool thing about quartz, is that you can apply that over and over and it won't break. Whereas most standard rigs come with a glass nail, and the stress of it eventually is going to lead to the failure of that nail, and it'll be replaced. So
This is a glass one.
this is your standard cheapy glass nail. A lot of people just throw these in when they sell you a piece. But it's made of borosilicate glass, whereas this is a machine cup. You have a really nice, this is just the difference between something that's well done and something that's done easily and cheaply.
But
And the
there's nothing
materials
really
are-
wrong with the glass one initially, right? I mean, it's just not
Right,
going to
it's
last
just
long.
not going to last.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll break
So-
after you heat it with a torch a few times.
A few times.
Yeah, I mean, it might last a month, but it's going to last a month.
Okay.
It's not going to last 2 months.
Yeah.
So, anyways, for people who are
Whoa.
more into the longevity, this right here is your a titanium nail. This is the Sheldon Black's model. It's got an internally threaded counterweight. Oops. There we go.
It's better where you had it.
Yep. Oh.
Right here.
There you go.
There you go.
Anyways.
Does that get hot? Like, can you touch that?
It gets hot, like you can't touch that.
Yeah,
Right.
like multi-thousand degrees once you apply the torch to it and leave that butane torch or propane, depending on what your MAP gas. Anything beyond that, if you start trying to use like a cutting torch, like oxyacetylene cutting torch, it will melt these into oblivion.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, I mean,
Don't
it's
do that.
designed to cut stuff even harder
That's an
than
expensive
titanium.
torch. You're not gonna find one of those in your garage.
Right.
Ti-
So
titanium's melting point is probably like 3,000 degrees, something like that.
a titanium nail costs what?
Depending on the manufacturer, like the Sheldon Black's got the internal threading, and it's got a little bit. It's got a secondary. I'll show that there. It's got a secondary plate here underneath the cup, and that is for over when you have a splash over. Typically, it'll run down and gum up your nail. That actually carries enough heat to re-vaporize whatever splashes over, so it doesn't gum up your
Oh,
joint,
wow.
and it doesn't
Like
gum
a
up
double
your
hit.
Double rainbow.
full on all the way. Anyways, that'd be the Sheldon Black one. That one is, Sheldon Black. It carries a little bit of a premium, but it's $89. In
But
the
that will
store.
last until 20.
You lose it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no way
You'll
for
have that buried with you.
Right. Now this right
If you're
here
really into it, yes.
You really love
is
it.
is a much cheaper alternative. This one's a exposed shaft as opposed to the internal shaft like the Sheldon. This one's counterweighted down here. It actually has a removable counterweight and the adjustable shaft, which will allow you to use it with any dome setup. So you can use it with a dome that is taller or shorter equally. And if you have a cheap, like some of the Chinese joints are real thin wall or thick walled, so for being an 18 mil outside, you'll have a smaller opening on the inside, and sometimes the counterweight won't work. So
That one's an 18 and the other one was a 14.
right.
They're both 18.
Oh, they are, yeah.
Aren't they?
No,
No, the
this is
gla-
a 14.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, and the quartz one's a 14 also.
I work
So
next
that's
to a
why
smoke
this one-
shop. I
Do
know
you?
this stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
Who told you?
It seeps in through the walls.
It seeps in through the walls. Learned by osmosis.
Yes.
Yeah.
When I'm bored, John comes in and teaches me things.
he just has this monitor that knows when you're bored and he needs to come over and teach you something?
It's usually when he's bored,
or
too.
do you come over and ask stuff?
Sometimes I come over and ask stuff.
Usually she makes us go out and have outside time when she's watering the plants.
I do. I open the door and I said, everybody out.
Yep.
All the customers, all the people, everybody out.
Make them take recess too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
Yes.
I can't be there, so I need you.
I got you
All
covered.
right. Well, that's
okay, so everything needs a nail.
Not necessarily.
Not
we
necessarily.
also have swings,
Oh, yeah.
which, where's that little Sheldon?
Can I ask a dumb question?
Did you
so-
bring that, Sheldon?
There's no such thing as dumb questions, just
There's
dumb
only-
people.
Okay.
Did
Can I be a dumb
Did
person
you bring
for a
that
minute?
other Sheldon?
No.
You left that?
Yeah.
Well, that's not going to make
So how did the nail become called a nail?
Well, because if you need it to build a house, you can hammer it into some wood.
Because in 2012, most people look at you stupid when you say something like chalice.
Okay, fair enough. How about the swing? How did
The swing? The swing.
Well, it swings.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a swing. I think it's a swing. Swing.
Swing is something you do.
Swing is something you have.
That could be taken so many ways.
And we're not going to take it anywhere.
All right. So anyways, this right here is a titanium swing. It has a titanium plate here. It's on this one's a 90-degree angle. So you've got a ground joint here. It's got a belled out area with a recess in it. That's where you would apply your concentrate on the dabber. So if you've got a piece of earwax and you heat this up away from it, you would swing it under. It's still really, red hot. And as soon as it was to cool slightly, you would dab your concentrate onto the side, and as you're pulling, it's going to have no choice but to draw air and your smoke into the bell down through the water of your water pipe. So that's a pretty good device. That's where a lot of people who've been smoking concentrates began using one of these. That's kind of the introductory point.
What is the dish actually made of?
The dish is made of titanium.
Okay. Are they all made of titanium?
99% of them are going to be titanium.
What about that other 2%?
That would be 101%.
I was trying to bring back the 2%. 2%.
I'm thinking a lot about milk today, aren't
John
you?
doesn't think we're funny tonight.
Hey, he's mad because I beat him in foosball right before we came.
I pretty much didn't even remember that happened. So. And I'm not mad. I the fact that the damn thing slants at a angle and every loose ball ends up rolling into my goal.
Oh, I know. It's so terrible.
So this next time we're going to
Heaven
trade
forbid you
sides.
just get the goalie inside.
Exactly.
All right. I'll beat you from the other side.
So what's this?
This is one of Worm's. This is a quartz puddle dome.
It's so cool. That is so cool.
So you set this in your water piece, a glass on glass joint. This is actually made of quartz.
Okay.
It has high temp silicone gaskets here that these guys developed this over the last about 3 years, and it's just obnoxious that this came from a couple of who did. I didn't realize that they had as much engineering skill as they did.
Right?
But yeah, they've taken a saw and they've cut all this out and had to come back and repolish it. People don't understand the time involved polishing quartz. First of all, you're using an oxygen-hydrogen setup, which is like having a hydrogen bomb, half the Hindenburg's hydrogen inside your bottle sitting on the wall.
Wow.
And it's very explosive, so everyone's real cautious when working with it. You're using torches. You have to buy even darker glasses than the standard
Oh, really?
didymium lenses that come in regular glass blowing glasses. So it's like staring at the. They say it's brighter than staring at the sun.
Wow.
Nothing is brighter than staring at the sun.
Go work quartz and come back and tell me when you can't
The
see
sun
a
is still
thing.
brighter.
Yeah, but you're 96
My
million
son's
miles
bright.
away or something.
Yes, he is.
Not
Yes,
brighter
he
than
is.
that, though.
Right? No, he's not brighter than this thing. He's brighter than yours.
So how does that fit on? That just
Well,
you're gonna show us. You're gonna show us.
I'm gonna have a really hard time showing us because we didn't bring any 14
That's
millimeter
fine.
female rigs. But if this was to be working the way it's supposed to in a 14 mil, this would sit in here.
Okay.
And then it would swing out, and it's a very compact, composed
It's
way.
really cool. I like that a lot. Can I
harness
play with
the
that?
concentrate smoke.
I'll give it back and I won't break it. Ooh, probably not. What does this run?
Those are $175 or so.
I think those were a little more.
How long will the
That's about 175, 180.
No, you were right. 179.
Yeah.
And this quartz will last pretty much as long as you want it to.
Yeah, as long as it or tile floor determines.
Right.
But,
This really is incredibly cool. I mean, look at that.
the engineering of it. People come in and they're like, "Wow, $180." Especially people who are older, who don't understand that.
Yeah,
there's a
older
lot
people.
of research and development. Well, I mean, people have been
Just glass.
yeah.
Right. Yeah, I
Yeah.
just want to smoke something.
Yeah, like people over like
But-
40 just don't seem to get it.
They don't understand. They don't understand how
They
many of these
don't.
pieces don't make it.
Right,
Like
sure.
where these welds are. I mean, when you go to these shops, there's a whole line of ones that made it, and then there's the whole line of ones that are half trashed in the
Right.
trash can. Who's paying for those?
Right. Well, this is just neat. I mean, this joint to watch this, I mean, it's incredible. You guys have got to go down to Mad Hatter and just play with this a little bit, because then you're going to want one. I want one.
That's one of Worm's puddle domes. It's a
You want one?
Yeah, I don't know exactly.
Yeah, you don't even use it, but you want one?
I just think it's incredible engineering. Like John said, it's beautiful.
It's well thought out. I mean, that's R&D. I mean,
Yeah.
I was hanging out with these guys when they came up with the very first noodle dome, which is, or all the different ones. There was the puddle funnel, or the, let's see, that's the puddle.
That's the puddle dome.
Puddle
There's
dome.
Puddle funnel.
Yeah, the puddle funnel is okay. That's the one that's on a swing. So it's like this, but with the quartz swing out, and just being around her in that time, because the concentrates that were being made were going from the dark goo stages to the lighter, more acceptable purged. Yeah, I mean the stuff we have today didn't exist 3 or 4 years ago.
That's right.
I mean,
That's right.
I
It
saw
didn't really exist
I was in
just over a year
I was in
ago.
Vegas at one of the champ shows, and the first time I saw something that was truly flaky yellow stuff, and it came from Oakland, and this guy had some of it, and it was just amazing because we had all this dark goo trash. Then he was like, I don't want to even touch
It's made from stem. Yeah.
No, it's all made. It was made from buds, but it was.
Just didn't know what you were doing.
The purge. Nobody knew how to do it right, and now it's
See
every
3
dispensary.
pictures on the internet and go try it.
Yeah.
You've got
That's
the
what I
guys
did.
from like Top Shelf who are making it for all the dispensaries, and they've got the quality right, and
Yeah.
everything works out beautifully when the knowledge gets shared, and the learning curve is only 3 years.
Isn't that
I mean-
amazing? Well, and again, so many people have determined that they really prefer dabbing.
Yeah, they won't even touch flowers anymore.
Vaporizing, concentrates where they're not even touching flowers, which is again why we wanted to have these on. So show us some of the full rigs. What
All I gotta say is sweet.
sweet smells yummy.
Yeah.
It's the dumbest name for a strain
It's
I've
not
ever
dumb
It
at
really
all.
is
I
dumb.
love it.
It's one level below green crack.
No,
Yeah.
it's not. No, don't even say that. That's
All
not
right.
true. Sweet is a cute name. I like it a lot.
We'll start out with.
But you don't even
Sheldon
smoke.
Black
It needs to be named for people
concentrate.
like me who are going to smoke, who'll say, yeah, I'll take that. The name's not too stupid.
I like the name. And for those of you
Like
that
Joey's Vagina Haze.
don't, I love.
I mean, come on.
So show us what you've got.
Yeah. You're turning red.
The cat came back the very next day.
You just said
The cat
vagina on my
came
show.
back.
Go ahead and show me that one. What's this one? Who's that by?
That's a Sheldon Black.
It is. It's got a big SB,
That's a mini
And
concentrator.
the top hat.
and the top hat is
It's
really
got
cute.
a really cool mini shower head in it with machine holes. There's 8 hole setup on that one. I don't know if you can see that in camera. Can you? Barely. How about now?
There you go.
There you go. Anyways, it's got a nice thick rolled foot. It's got a very small footprint when it's sitting on your table. It's a pretty legit piece. Travels really well. It breaks down into parts, and so you can throw it in a case and
Is that called a dome on the top?
It is. That's an 18 millimeter dome. A lot of people prefer the 18 mil as opposed to the 14, just because of airflow restrictions. Problem with an 18 is you have to have a really long stem to get your face away from it.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's bigger, it takes up more space. So, especially when you're rocking like a tie nail. Tie nails get hot and they stay hot.
For how long? How long will it stay hot?
A couple minutes.
At least
To
by
burn flesh.
by the time it's cool enough to touch, it's probably 10 minutes plus.
Okay.
Like it's gonna retain some heat.
That small Sheldon Black, what does that run?
That was $274.99.
Okay. And is that at the Walnut Street store or the Colfax store?
We have them at both.
those.
Okay.
Yeah, we try to stay pretty well stocked in the Sheldon Black line. You know, we've got
That was not a friendly radio noise.
Crash, crash, boom.
Anyways, that would be pretty much entry level Sheldon Black concentrate piece.
Look at that.
This one is a buddy of ours up in Fort Collins, Troy. This is a little mini that he did. It's got a bunch of really nice wigwag fume sections. It's got some really cool fume honeycomb marbles on it, which...
I love the wigwag.
Yeah.
I love
Those
it.
marbles look great on it, too. I really like the contrast he did with the black and the dark-colored marbles, then going into the lighter colors of the fuming.
Yep.
You know, I've said this before at other glass segments we've done together. I mean, do you use that? Do you use that? I mean, I know this is functional art.
Oh,
but
yeah, that's...
This one actually is priced to use.
Is priced to use,
That's
okay.
kind of one of the nice things about it is, you know,
It's a
we get into a lot of those real artistic pieces that, you know, like people such as myself just collect.
Right.
But it's really cool to be able to get one functioning, you know, at a good price to where, you know, it's easily usable and not like, oh, I don't want to take this out of the house. I don't want.
Yeah, I mean, this is a piece that's got color sections, and then it's got 3 other sections, 3 millis on it that are really well worked, and that one, the retail on it is $319.99.
It's gorgeous.
Yep.
It is gorgeous.
But
Now,
you're paying more for anything that's worked. You always have to remember that. The clear glass and work colored
Sure.
glass are going to be very different prices.
sure.
But this is, you know, for a portable piece that's got
Thanks.
really nice color, you know, it's very reasonably priced. On the East
The
Coast,
honeycomb is so prominent.
yeah. Those
There's 3
millis
of them.
alone are
Yeah.
just really nice.
Oh,
But
it's just this is this black? Is it just black? Okay.
Yep, just solid black.
The contrast, the color is just gorgeous. These pieces are amazing.
yeah, just to backpedal a little bit, here would be something that's real basic. This has the flared mouthpiece similar to like your Toros and stuff. This piece actually was made in Oregon, so it's an import to Colorado, but we're still sticking American on this one.
But still American.
Yep, it's got the mini shower head though, with what they
American made, man.
they call
3 M's.
when they blow out the bass like this. Anyways, this is your basic setup that with the really nice shower head gadget. But that one right there is on the shelf for $159.99.
That's really
that
cool.
right there comes with the glass nail, and it's just a nice basic rig, really well put together. You know, all the welds are very clean. You don't have any bubbling there, so it's just
Another one that's definitely priced to use.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of your best bangs for your buck. I mean, it's the lowest price bubbler style rig that we carry.
and
$159.99.
Yep, we're actually gonna. I've got a glass blower that we're
Holla.
gonna work with. That we're gonna have one that's similar to that. That's gonna probably come in a couple bucks under that one too.
So what's the advantage of this big mouthpiece?
It feels good. Go ahead, try it.
That's
I'll
kinda,
watch.
Yeah, that's kind of like the Toro mouthpiece. That it just gives
Some
you
people like a
pretty
little
good-
more flair around their mouth. Some people like just like a small kind of bubbler style mouthpiece. Really comes down to personal preference.
Sure.
So
What's-
this is almost a compromise between the two.
Who is that?
This is a Swagger. This is a
It's a
local.
Swagger.
This is local guys. This one right here. This actually has a gridded inline percolator. So they've taken that tube that here. They've cut it almost all the way
Wow.
through the top, and then they'll take clear and tag clear in multiple sections on each one of those slits. So they turn each one of those slits into 5 to 6 holes. So you take what was 3 slits and turn it into 25 holes or so. So instead of having like a stemless bubbler where this would connect without a gadget, and you would have every time you take a pull, it's one thug bubble that just thud, and it just goes to the top without diffusing through the water. This takes that same bubble, cuts it into 25 bubbles.
Wow.
And
Makes it a lot smoother that way.
Sure.
Right. Especially when you're talking about like concentrates and stuff like that. Because,
nice job, Swagger Glass.
Yep. Our good friend Tim from JDR's been over there working his butt off. I'm really proud of him. He stepped his game up a little bit.
And he's having a great time at it.
Oh,
I hope so.
He's taking a lot of pride in his work too. I saw him on Friday night, and he was showing off a bunch of his pieces.
He was.
They're not perfect, but you want to buy one? It's cheap.
Oh, good for him.
I hope he sticks with it, because I didn't see Tim as being someone who wanted to get burned every day and being able to tolerate it.
It's hard work.
I think he's
and he's dove right in, and
he's showing that he's a tough guy. I respect him.
Well, he's definitely artistic, and that fits into that as well.
Yeah.
Yep. Here's one of our
treehouse
personal favorites, the treehouse. This is a.
Am I allowed to say that that's always my favorite?
Yeah, I think you can say that.
Say whatever you want.
I just think that they look so.
It's your show.
Clean.
Treehouse.
Hola.
Tree huggers.
Anyways, they've got a nice sandblasted label on each one of their pieces, but this one right here has a gridded cap, so it's got. And if you want to talk about something that's not easy to do, if you see this guy's station, for every one he makes, there's probably 1 to 2 in the water dish.
Yeah.
Just because to pull them off and make them work and not warp when he's putting them on the lathe is really hard to do. And you can see each one of those has got about 5 or 6 different splash. It works as a splash guard and a diffuser.
Wow.
So it's really cool.
Splash fuser.
So so what's really cool is you're getting diffusion through the bottom here. It's where this weld is. There's a little restriction there that works as a primary splash guard that then allows it to splash and diffuse through the little shower cap diffuser. I don't know if you can see
beautiful.
It. But
beautiful.
That's a tiny piece, and you can rip it and not have to worry about getting a drink.
Treehouse is from.
They're those guys are up by Loveland.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, just north of here. But yeah.
You like that one too, huh?
Yeah. So I picked it for a house piece.
It
was
so
intended
cool.
to be my house, but things change.
Yep. Here's another variation of a micro bubbler. This is a Mike Pro. This one's got your inline gadget. This one's not nearly as technical as that one, because this is got a 4-hole inline, and it's got a traditional shower cap diffuser, which actually work really, really well.
A cap user.
Diffuser.
Cap fuser.
Confuser.
I like splash fuser better.
Anyways, but it's another piece that you can rip really hard because it's got the little Marias here and everything.
What is that? Yeah, what do those do?
Those
are functional.
Yep. As the air travels up, it allows it to open up. So if there's water traveling up with the air, it typically will splash out. Gravity will take over, and it'll stick to the sides of those Marias before it'll come up into your lungs.
See, I listen to you.
Someone does, thank God.
This one's made by Mike Fro.
That's a Mike Fro.
So one of the cool
that's
things.
That's not made on a lathe. That's an actually hand spun piece.
Oh, wow.
Just in front of his torch, just piecing it together.
The dome is really cool on this one. Really unique.
Wow.
Yeah, Fro's a beast.
Yeah, he's really talented. He's really talented.
And the broad range of things he makes.
Oh yeah, I mean, like he was pretty much. There was probably a dozen or so guys out there on the West Coast that really turned the wig-wag style of cutting up glass tube and made it prominent in the scene.
So let me ask before you. So the big thing with flower pipes is, especially the handheld ones, is color. Everyone loves the color. But rigs are predominantly clear glass, right?
Well, the technical aspect of it makes it way more expensive once you start dropping color. I mean, if this
Joe Halen.
Yeah, like this is $600, and this is not taking nearly
They
as
can't
much.
see it.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Yeah, like this name Myers piece here,
It's gorgeous.
which has a hole spacing. This is $600, and then you put it next to this Halen piece that's $500, and or like this right here, which has got way more welds, way more technical than the Nate Myers piece there. You've got weld here, weld here, weld here, weld here.
Yeah.
Flare with a weld here. This is probably, this is definitely a 30, this is 25, so that's a weld there to this section, which is coming out. This is a weld here.
Plus that mini
That's a
10-arm
weld.
tree inside.
Which those are all welds.
So cool.
And then
Yeah.
you're taking and cutting them all with the saw after the fact, and you're blasting this, and you got blasted labels on it. And then people don't understand that every one of those steps takes time.
Sure.
And is another
attaching
point
a-
you can break the piece.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
So it takes precision.
Yeah, so let's say you're almost done with this piece and somebody catches your attention and you do something stupid and something screws up, and then you have to throw it in the water dish.
Right.
You're like,
Right.
God damn it, and then, yeah, you've got an hour and a half involved.
Don't say
in
God damn
something
it,
like
Peggy's
that.
listening.
Sorry, Peggy.
Piggy.
Peggy, sorry.
But yeah.
Yeah, so it's
He
just
said
not,
worse to her in
it's
person.
just not cost effective necessarily to have color, as lovely as it is, with the detail and the
it's
technology.
more of a connoisseur's want or desire to have more work in it, because it is going to make significantly more. Like, for example, like we keep referring to this Joel Halen, if you want to take it in front of the camera real fast, that one's $4.99 for a clear one. Exact same one with color and work in it is $9.99.
Wow.
So it's twice as much to get worked sections and everything in there. Because they also have to stop and take the time to create the section. Like, it's not like it's just already
they're
there.
on a,
Right,
they're on a
right.
bench sitting there, especially like the wigwag stuff. I mean, they have to take color rods, put them into a glass tube, vacuum encase that inside another glass tubes to trap the air rods, pull all that down while using tons of oxygen and propane because they're having to rage their torch to melt a chunk of glass. It's this, it's a 75 by 5 millimeter tube that then has rod in it that's another, 3/16 of an inch with another, probably 44 on the inside or 50 mil. I don't know what they rock for inside. But you're talking about a sidewall thickness of an inch, and then just the heat required to get that to melt into a liquid at that, thickness is ridiculous. I mean, you're using a big torch, hot as hell. You're sitting there standing over it, hoping nothing swoops or drips or gets any extra air bubbles in it. You're paddling it down, making sure that everything's uniform. And you're sitting over it for over an hour.
Wow.
Like, this thing is thousands and thousands of degrees. You're just pouring sweat. Nobody gives a shit about you. And, when they're at the head shop, just like, why is that one $58? And it's like, because this poor bastard's sitting in 102 degree outside ambient air, sitting over a torch that's got a piece of glass in, and 24 inches from his face that's 3,200 degrees.
And glass blowers do get sunburned from their torches.
Oh,
Do
yeah.
they really?
All
Oh,
of
yeah.
them have
All of them have, like,
eyes.
raccoon eyes and everything.
Yeah, they all have the
Aw,
rings from.
I don't know enough
you
glass
can tell
blowers.
every time you're out now, you see somebody who's got crazy raccoon eyes.
They're probably a glass blower.
Probably glass blower.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
Show them your pipes so they can see a finished product wigwag.
Yeah, like this is wigwagging glass where you take and do the reverse accessing where it makes those like spiky spots in the colors.
Love it.
But it all started out as a single piece of tubing where all the lines were in a row. And they, after you pull down this huge piece of tubing, where the colors on the inside of it, if in rod form, cost about $60 a pound. And by the time you pull all that down with 2 layers of clear, which each one of those tubes this long is, You know, a chunk of 75.5, you know, that long is probably $14, something like that. You know, a tube of 75 is probably $25 or $28. So I don't know. It's people don't understand that if anything goes wrong and you lose that chunk of tube, like if you get a huge crack and it's unrepairable, you're out $300,
Right.
And all your time and sweat and tears and.
Don't care about that.
No one gives a shit
They
about
want it
that
for
on their
$5,
consumer
Right.
end.
like the convenience store next to their house.
Right.
Yeah,
These are-
they
yeah.
wonder why they come
Yeah.
in and they say, well, yeah, why don't you have anything for? Why don't you have a bubbler or an elephant pipe? Where's my elephant pipes? Oh, I'm sorry, those are in the India import catalog that's over there in the trash can that they send me 3 of each week.
No, it's keeping the table in the back from rocking.
Yeah, well, that's what we did
It
with the
rocks.
last ones.
Yeah.
And once it gets cold, we'll burn them.
Okay.
Warmth.
That sounds good.
But in the meantime, we were laughing at the people who come in and they want a $30 elephant that I can buy for $12.90 if I buy 100 of them.
Right.
It's like, well, an American glass blower can't make that product right there for under $40 or $50. Period.
So you guys have a lot of glass blowers that just come by your shop with their products that they want to wholesale to you.
And we wish we could buy more of them from all of them. And it's really unfortunate that, you know, the market doesn't support us as well as it should. And we have a high concentration of glass blowers who are constantly bombarding us to try to buy glass. And as much as we want to give them every penny we got, you know, there's a lot of, just to keep variety in your store, you have to buy from a lot of different people. And so
one of the things that I think is nice about your store, in particular, is not only do you guys have, a wide variety of different types and different artists, but your staff is so knowledgeable. Everybody really knows. We laugh at how much you know, John, but the fact of the matter is you make sure that your staff are able to have these discussions with people too, and people really
the rest
know what
of
they're
us
getting.
wouldn't have the product knowledge that we have if it weren't for John.
Right.
I mean, we get someone new in and we teach them stuff, and that was always a big deal to me because, you can go into many smoke shops all over the country and start asking the employees questions and they have no clue.
Right.
They just know where you put your product and where the water goes, and that's kind of it. And it was really important to me that I wanted to make sure that everyone was very familiar with glass, very understanding, and could explain it in a way that a customer could understand.
And
because
you've taken your staff to go see glass blowers and
Yeah.
meet glass blowers, so they know exactly what John's talking about in terms of
Yeah.
how colors pulled through and those kinds of things. That it's not just a product that's on the shelf. This isn't like working at the Gap where you're either a size 8 or a size 6.
Exactly.
There's a lot to know, and you've made great strides and great efforts in ensuring that your staff, who are also really passionate about it, have that product knowledge.
Exactly, and that's the key. That's why John and I got into this business and everything is because we love it. We enjoy it, and we really want people on our team that enjoy it as well and have a keen interest.
Excellent. So these are beautiful, and we appreciate it so much. As always, tell me again how people can find you.
We've got our 2 locations. One's at 6091 West Colfax Avenue out in Lakewood, and our new location is in downtown Denver, 4 blocks northeast of the baseball stadium at 2615 Walnut Street, next door to MMD of Colorado, which you should be
Yay.
checking out as well.
Thank you.
We're in the process of reworking our website and everything like that. There is a current one up, so you can at least contact us through that and see some of our photos and everything. But here in the coming months, we should have a fully revamped, more interactive site, where you can also purchase some of this glass from if you're not local.
Excellent. And next month you will be here. It'll be Labor Day.
Labor Day?
Yeah.
Sounds like some labor.
Your being here is always, I know, laborious for you guys. But first Monday of the month is always Mad Hatter Smoke Shop Monday. And it's going to be a boy show. I'm not going to be here.
Not going to be here. Where are you going to be?
I'm going to be...
Duh.
Yep.
Where?
She's going to be showing her Naples in Florida.
Yep. I'm going to be out of town.
You're going to show your Naples?
No. So thank you, Paul. Thank you, John, from Mad Hatter Smoke Shop. Check them out. It's always wonderful. Thank you, guys. Let me tell you a little bit about what's going to be happening on iCannabis Radio this week. Tomorrow night is Tuesday, 6:30 to 8 p.m. Mountain Time, American Weed. In addition to Science Corner and Ask Dr. Shack, the Stanley brothers are going to interview their mom, Kirsty, who has been a big supporter of theirs for years. Then after that, from 8 to 10, is Sex Pot Radio.
Jenny Cush.
They're going to be talking about zombie news and self-mutilation, as well as teen sex.
They're going to put a tattoo on Alan.
They're going to tattoo Alan on the air. What?
Alan wants to be tattooed on the air.
Huh.
It's the funniest tattoo ever.
All right. Well, we'll have to see if that happens. Wednesday night, of course, is IDAB Radio from 7 to 9 p.m. Thursday night, Overgrow the Radio. They'll have Dr. Bob Melamede, Josh Stanley, and Chris Stubbs. And then next week on Monday will be our monthly segment, The State of the States, where we will talk to our reporters in other states about medical marijuana news and marijuana news. We want to do a quick clarification regarding something we said earlier. We talked about MMJ America's ad in the Westward that had the bikini-clad women. They state that they stopped that ad a couple of years ago, that they no longer have bikini-clad women in their Westward ad. So just want to let you know that. I want to thank our sponsors, Mile High Wellness, Noto Urban Garden Supply, Edson Maton and Matt's, Medical Marijuana of the Rockies, Medical Marijuana 101, and Run on Grass, and of course our friends at Mad Hatter Smoke Shop. You've been watching Georgia and Warren on iCannabis Radio, and we'll see you on Monday.